Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are actually going to be building out all the features of the blog project that we demonstrated in the earlier video. So if you haven't seen the demonstration of the project that we are going to be building, then you can head over to the previous video and watch the demonstration. So let's get started with this video. So in this video I am going to be making use of PyCharm to develop the blog project, since in my opinion it is a much better development environment when it comes to Python and Django. So if you do not have PyCharm, you can head over to this link and download PyCharm. The community edition will do, and it has all the features and it provides everything that we need to develop our blog project. So let's get started. So if you do not have PyCharm downloaded, you can download it from the official website. I'll leave the link below for this in the description. So let's get started. So first thing that we need to do is launch PyCharm, and this is just another project that is open. So we can create a new project from file, new project, and we can name our project blog app. So one of the key advantages here of using PyCharm is that a virtual environment is already created for you. So you do not need to go through the effort of creating a virtual environment, activating it again and again, like we would have to do if we were developing this application in VS Code. So yes, so once we do this, we must make sure we have new environment ticked using this virtual env, and we have to make sure that our Python interpreter is correctly detected, and let's click on create. So we can so as you can see, it's automatically creating the virtual environment for us. It's running everything. All the settings that we need are going to be done automatically by the IDE. So that is why PyCharm is a much better option to go with. So we can just wait while the configuration runs, and great, and we have our application created and we have a project created. So let's get started with the first step, which is to install Django. Yeah, so we can just run the command. So we can see, as you can see here, that we are already inside the virtual environment. So we can just run pip install, and we can just run a specific version. And yeah, you can hit enter. This is just a normal check by the antivirus, and yes, we can see that Django has been successfully installed. Yeah, so the installation has completed, and the success message will show up soon. Yeah, so now Django has been successfully installed. Now the first thing that we need to do is to create our project within Django. So we need to run the command Django admin start project, and we can just call this my site. Okay, I misspelled the word. So every time pip runs, this is just a regular check that's made. Yeah, so the project should have been created. Yeah, we can see that my site has been created, and within that we have our files here, the configuration files. So this so let's explore these files first. So what is manage.py? Manage.py is just like a simple command line utility that is used to interact with your project. Imagine it to be just like a thin wrapper that's around your Django admin .py tool. So there is no need to perform any edits in this file. So then within our project directory we have a lot of files. We have init.py, which is just like a tells Python to treat the my site directory as a Python module. So that is just usually empty. And asgi.py is just a configuration to run your project as an ASGI standard, which is just a new Python standard for asynchronous web servers. So yeah, and settings.py is actually one of the most important files in our project, since it includes all the settings and configurations for your project, and it contains all the default details. So yeah, so those, and urls.py is another very important file. This is where your URL patterns are placed. So each URL is defined and mapped to a view. So as you can see, the administration website path has been given. So we'll talk about these settings later. So now let's get started. So once we do this, we need to head over into our project, and we can just cd into it, and we need to run the command python manage.py migrate. And if you get a message like this, then the migrations have successfully been performed. So yeah, so then that is great. And then we can move on to the next step of the project, which is to actually start the development server and see if everything is running properly or not. So we can just run the command python manage.py run server. This is the command that we use to run the development server. So if we click here, yeah, the installation worked successfully. Congratulations. So this web page should show up if your installation has worked successfully. Great. So now we can work and actually build out. We can just break the development server with Control-C. Yeah, and we're back into our terminal. So once we do that, we should yeah, so the next thing that we need to do is actually just explore a few project settings. And yeah, so as we know, the Django projects have apps within. Django project is like a big hierarchy in which we have several apps, which makes Django a decoupled website. Which makes your entire Django website more decoupled. So all the components can be used in other projects as well. So now we need to create the app inside our main project. So we just need to run the command python manage.py start app blog. And once we do that, yeah, we can see a blog application has successfully been created. So that is good. And then we can start designing the schema of the blog. So before we do that, we should explore what these files are. So admin.py is just a file where you register your models to include them in the Django administration website. And your apps.py is just where you include the main configuration of your blog application. Migrations will contain the database migrations of your application. These migrations allow Django to track your model changes and basically maintain a sync between your database. So that's good. And then models.py is the data models of your application. This is a very important file, and all Django applications need to have a models.py file. And test.py is usually not used a lot, but actually it's very important, where you can add tests for your application. So that's good. And views.py is also one of the most important files in your project. This is the logic of your application. Each view receives an HTTP request, you process it, then you return a response. So this is one of the most important files. So let's get started with actually designing the blog data schema. So what we need to do here is that we need to open up our models.py file and actually explore. And the very first thing that we need to do here is add the posts. So we need to create a model to store all the posts, right? So our blog application will include a lot of posts that we can make. And yeah, so the very first thing so we need to write a model there for the post. So let's get started. So from Django.import models, and we can just call our model post, and we can write models.model. Yeah, so after that's done, we need to include. So first of all, before a blog post is posted, we need to make sure it has a status, right? If it is, we want to make sure we write a post, but we are not sure if we want to publish it yet. So we should have a status underscore choices, that we can mark a blog as published or as a draft. So that we only once we're sure if the content should actually go into production, then only we must change the status to published. So the two status we want a draft status and a published status, right? So we keep draft, and Okay, and right, and another one that we need is published. So great, yeah, so this is correct. Yeah, so then the next thing that we need to have is a title, and you can just write models dot char field. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm creating a database model which is essentially like a table with columns and values in it. So because of Django's ORM, I'm able to do this, where I'm able to define the character type, the field type, which is char, and I'm able to define max length here as 250. So this is great. So this actually allows me to directly communicate with my database using just Python. So that is great. And yeah, so another thing, that slug is basically what follows in the URL of your file when you open something specific. Like for example, if the domain name of the site was my blog, and if the blog post was top 5 tech companies, then it would be www.myblog/top 5 tech companies. So that's what a slug actually represents. So we just need to write models.slug field, and just define the max length here, and yeah, which is 250. Again, let's just leave it as that. And there's a few other things that we should define, and it must be unique for date. Publish. Great. And the next thing that you need to do is define an author. So we must have an author, right, for our post. So just write here models dot foreign key, and we need to mention the user. Right, so models.cascade, and we need a related name to it as well. So let's just define it as blog_posts. And once this is done, we can just write the body. The body is another field that we need, right? So body is models.text field. Publish is also needed. So you can see with the amount of convenience with which we can develop these, with which we can develop the entire database schema without having to, we can just eliminate the need to write any SQL. So why is this giving us an error? Right, we need to import the time zone dual. So Django dot utils import time zone. Okay, yeah. contrib.auth.models from Django.contrib.auth.models import user. Okay, that seems correct. And so we need the time when it was created, and so that is models dot date time field again, and auto underscore now underscore add has to equal to true. Okay, so once that is done, we can just a few more lines to go. Updated, correct. We just need to keep track of the time it was updated as well, because that's also of importance. and okay, great. And status models dot char field, and max underscore length should just equal to 10, not more than 10, and choices is just status underscore choices. Great. And the default value that we want to leave, that the default value that should always be selected is draft, as we have defined here. Okay, so this looks about right. Just yeah, class meta, and right, so ordering should be according to the published, and we just write publish here. Just leave a double spacing here for these. Okay, and we just need to write the def underscore str underscore self. And we return the title. Okay, so this looks good. So once we have done this, what we want to do, so we have defined several fields here, right? Title, so this is the post title. Slug is the field intended to be used in the URLs, and then we've defined the author, which is which is more of a many to one relationship, right? Since each post is written by a user, and a user can write any number of posts. For this field, Django will create a foreign key in the database using the primary key of the related model. So in this case, we are relying on the user model, right? So that is why, which is in the Django authentication system library. So that is why we need to import it from there. And yeah, so that's it. So, and the on delete parameter that we have made use of this model, the on delete parameter, it specifies the behavior to adopt with the referenced object. So that is good, and great. So everything seems set. And when we're using Cascade, we specify that when the referenced user is deleted, the database will also delete all related blogs, so that we do not have any errors in our database. So that is good and great. So now that we've understood the code that we've written here, what we can do is we can activate the application. So we created this new blog application, correct? But Django doesn't know about it yet. And as I had mentioned earlier, there's a very important file called settings.py which has all your configurations, right? So we need to go into this file and define this application. So we can just do that with blog.apps.blogconfig. And even if you just write blog, it should work, but then I'm just writing blog.apps.blogconfig to make sure it works. And yeah, great. And once we do this, what we have essentially done here is we have created a new database table, right, for our posts. So what we want to do here is that we want to make the migrations, right? So as I had mentioned earlier, migrate is executed to make sure the synchronicity is maintained, right? So what we need to do here is we need to write the command python manage.py make migrations, and we just write blog since that's the name, and let's go. And yes, migrations for blog created, create model post. So that has successfully happened. And the next command is just python.manage.py migrate, I guess. Yeah, that should be our next command. So once we do that, okay, great, the migrations have taken place. So once we do this, the next thing that we need to do is so with python manage.py migrate, we have synced it to our database. The new model that we've created, we've synced it to our database. So the since we're getting this message, apply blog.init.001 underscore initial is actually proof that it worked successfully. So the next thing that we need to do is that we need to create an administration site, right? If I am the owner of this website, that I need to successfully manage posts, I want to manage users. So for this specific purpose, Django provides us with an administration website. So this website is exclusive to the owner of the website and the person controlling it. So, and to access to access the administration part of your application, we need to create something called as a super user. So a super user is someone who has control over the entire website, right? So let's create a super user. So let's run the command python manage.py create super user. Great. And it's telling us to enter a username, so I'm just going to enter admin, and I'm going to leave the email as admin@gmail.com, and let's just give the password so as something simple that we can remember. Great. And obviously the password that I've given is entirely numeric. It is too short. It contains only 8, and it contains less than 8 characters, and obviously it's not going to allow you to create and it's going to tell you that the password is weak and can be easily accessed. But since this is only a demonstration video of a project, it's okay. So we can bypass the password validation. We just enter Y, and the super user has been created successfully. So once the super user has been created, and once we can just run the server, and great, we can run the server and just enter /admin ahead of it. Once we do that, so we can see that we've been redirected to the website. So we can just enter admin as the username and our password, and we can log in. So yeah, so we have logged in to our website, and when we can see that it has only two things under the authentication and authorization. It doesn't have our model visible yet, the post model which we created, correct? So we need to register it, and so to register it, we need to go onto the admin.py file that we had seen earlier. So we can just close the browser, break the server, and we can enter into our admin.py file, which is over here, and we write and we just need to first import the model that we had written, which we can do using we just need to import it. So from our models file, import post. Great. So we've imported it here, and we can just write admin.site.register, and we can just enter the name of our model. So once this is done, it should successfully add it to our administration website. So let's see if it worked. We can start the development server and enter admin, and yes, we can see that our posts is visible under the blog application. Our model posts is visible, and when we click on it, it says 0 posts, since we have not created a single post as of now. So once we have created it, we can so you can see how easily you can create a model and add it. So once we have this post created, we can click on add, and now Django has automatically created this form for us. So you can see all the fields that we had defined, correct? All the fields that we had defined in our models.py, our status, the title, the slug, the author, the body, published, created, updated, and the status of the blog, all of them have been successfully created accordingly. And yeah, so that is great. And okay, so we can fill out this form, and we can see how we can add a post, right? So we can just add what is for example, we can just enter a title as what is Django as one of our post, and we can just add the slug, and it should be the admin, and body, we can just leave the body as it's Python web app. application framework. Great. So once this has been done, we can also see that we can set a status for our blog. So we can set it as draft or published. We can set it as published as of now, and this can be just set as correct. We can just do a dash and a dash the way it is displayed on actual blog websites. Correct. So once we do this, we can click on save, and we can see our post object has been added. Correct. That's great. Okay. So once we've done this, we can see that the next thing that we want to do is we want to customize the way that the model looks, right? So that we'll be doing as of now. And okay, so let's so the next thing that we want to do is customize the way that the models are displayed. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so once this is done, we need to head to our admin.py file. Okay, so once here we just need to make a few changes here. We registered our but we made the registration, but we must add class post admin. It's not currently displaying the way we want it to display, right, with all the names and not just as post model 1. So we write admin.model admin, and then we do list underscore display, and we can just write it inside the format of a tuple, and we just write the title, the slug, the author, whether the publish and the status of whether it's published or not. Great. So once this is done, we have okay, so once this is done, the list underscore display attribute is just going to allow you to set the fields of your model that you want to display on the administration object. So once we do that, we can again we need to configure it a little more and with some more options. So once we do that, so let's go ahead and make the changes. So we just need to do list underscore filter, right? So list underscore filter, and we just status, right? We need to mention the status here, status created, publish, and author, right? Okay, so once we do this, we need to add search fields, right? So search fields must include the title and the body. So once this is done, we must also include the populated fields, right? So the slug that we had to write earlier we shouldn't have to write the slug, right? The slug should automatically be populated. So when we do that, it should populate by itself. So what we do is we mention the title inside this way, and we just become higher. Yeah, that should work. Hopefully that works. We'll know that when we execute it. And yeah, so Then we go ahead and add the raw underscore id dot fields, which should just have the author information. Okay, it looks correct. Then we need to have the date hierarchy as well, and we get to know the date hierarchy with the date when it was published. So we have publish here, and we order the blogs in our administration website according to the status. So add the status as well. Great. So once we have done this, our browser, our administration website should look a lot more friendlier than what we had seen earlier. So we can just go ahead and turn this off. We can run the development server again, and we'll visit the administration website, and this installed successfully page is going to keep showing until we actually actually define a view for the default URL. So that's all right, and go ahead to admin, go to our posts, and we can see this post that we had added earlier. So we can go ahead and delete this, and it'll ask if we're sure, and if we delete it, great. Then if we add a post, now if we enter the same post, we can see what is Django. It should it is not currently displaying the way we want it to. So let's try to debug the error here and figure out what's the error. So if we were to check our models.py file, okay, post admin admin, this looks correct. List underscore display. Oh, right, we must add the decorator here, obviously. And once we do that, hopefully this works. Just need to change this to admin.register. And okay, once you change this to admin.register, we should be able to see the changes on the administration site. So let's run the server again. Hopefully we can just shut the download page, and again we get an installation screen, and we go ahead to our posts, we add a post, and hopefully it should work. Great. Now we see when we type what, the slug field is pre-populated, so that means that we have successfully customized our admin module, our administration site view, the way it looks. So if we were to add what is Django here, we can see that it makes a slug field automatically. So if we were to if we were to select, we can just select the admin user, that the super user we had created, right? So we can go ahead, go back here. We can see if we select the admin, it's 1. So 1 represents the super user. Then we write it is a framework, and we select this as published, and we click on save, and it is in a much more user-friendly format now than it was displayed before. Since if you noticed earlier, it said post object 1, but now it says what is Django. It gives us the slug, it gives us the author appropriately, and it is much more convenient to work with. So in this video, we have successfully created the administration, we have created the post model, we have registered it to our administration website, and then in the following videos, we'll be seeing a lot more about how we'll be working a lot more on this blog. We'll be creating a model manager, we'll be actually creating the pagination of the website, we'll be creating the views, the list view, the details view, the more details on how we can add the most top rank blocks. We're going to add tags to this. We're going to make adding a lot more functionality. So thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and please subscribe to the channel. It really motivates me to keep uploading more content, and thanks again for watching.